I mean, I guess I was at Accenture for 5.5 years. I quit because I didn't want to travel when I was married. I didn't want to
Yeah.
do the thing. And I got a gig at a local consulting company called Slalom. They're pretty big now. Um, and was staffed at AT&T and then Auto Trader. And then I went to Auto Trader for a couple years because that same boss convinced me that I could go be CEO there. And I remember like one of my last days while I was working there, I was literally crying driving to work, like couldn't be more miserable with the job. I ended up losing the job. That's a different story for another time. And came back to Slalom and got staffed at Coke.
I could not be more excited to interview Amy Pierce today on the Lux and the Short of It podcast. She is one of my short-term rental mentorship clients, and then I ended up turning into one of her clients as she's my mindset coach. But she was a global VP at Coke and had all of this success and realized that, all of the things she had checked all of the boxes, but at the end, it wasn't joyful. It wasn't happy for her. And so our episode is her quest to really make over her life and sharing her story from, college all the way through her corporate career and now how she is saying yes to joy, yes to happiness and what that looks like even though she, left Coke and all that she's doing to create that happiness on her terms, which is what it's really all about. I cannot wait for you to hear her story and take away some of those really amazing nuggets in the episode.
And she was like the little gray, like sweetest Russian blue looking cat. And I think I just wanted something for mine, and she followed me through like us building a house and moving and then getting divorced. And she lived in like God knows how many apartments with me as I moved around to like establish myself in this new life that I was pursuing. And yeah, she moved into the house in Old Fourth Ward and ultimately into living here with Casey and me. But it really wasn't ideal in this house because pit bulls and cats.
I can imagine.
So she was really secluded Lila moves back and forth between Ariella's house and my house.
Okay.
So whenever Lila was here, Zelda was confined to our quarters.
To your quarters.
Yeah. But anyway, that's enough with my cat.
Well, I think so. I made the analogy the other day. Somebody was asking about short-term rentals and like how it's like, is it a lot of work? And I'm like, or is having a lot of properties like worse than having one property? And I asked them, I'm like, well, do you have cats? And they were like, no. Like, what the heck does this have to do with the conversation? I'm like, okay, well, you probably won't understand this analogy as much because one, I'm a crazy cat lady and I used to have 6 indoor cats. Now I have 5. And I'm like, the difference is, and it's the same with short-term rentals, once you have one cat box getting 2 or 3 cats is not a big deal because you're used to scooping. Same with short-term rentals. Once you have all of the systems and processes, if you have 1, 3 is essentially the same amount of work because you already are used to doing the messaging and like the maintenance aspect of a short-term rental. So like cat math and short-term rental math is
basically the same.
It's basically the same. They looked at me like I was insane. I was okay with that. But as a fellow cat person, do you get it?
I might understand. Well, we did have 2 cats, and the biggest argument we had in our house was with my former husband, who was doing the litter box. And when you have 2 cats, you got to have 2 litter boxes.
True that. True that.
And we ended up buying a litter robot.
Do you
have
like
a litter robot?
I do not have a litter robot, but I do have a very honed in litter system.
Okay.
Do you want to hear it?
I want to hear it.
Okay. So we have 5. We have 4 jumbo size litter boxes.
Yeah.
And we use the litter box liners. And We have a separate room that's like separate from the house, and we use the paper pellets. We don't use a traditional sand litter, so it does not get in their paws because I cannot stand like litter sand being tracked through the house. And so every every week, my housekeeper literally we don't scoop anything. She takes the liners out, throws them away, and we completely do an overhaul of the litter.
Okay.
Most people have no idea I have one cat, let alone five in my house, because you cannot smell it.
I think
And
you
that's the
might
key.
this might be your next, like, influencer line. MHM cat care.
Cat care. Like I'm gonna become a cat consultant. What is what's that? Is it do you know what I'm talking about? The guy on the Animal Planet, the cat consultant that I have a devil cat or something. I don't know. I
And
swear
does
I'm
he help
headed there.
people with them? Yeah, that you might
Yes.
be headed that way.
My like yeah, it's I'm gonna Jackson something. I'm gonna have to look this up. I'll put it in the show notes, folks. I mean, literally my other passion. I was actually my visual designer, my graphic designer. She messaged me. She's like, "So I have cats visiting." She was asking me for cat advice the other day. I'm like, "I'm honored that you come to me for your cat lady advice."
I mean, 5 cats is impressive, Madeline. I think this actually shows, like, your ability to design systems, right? That make things
Thank
manageable.
you. Thank you. And 5 is the tip of the iceberg. You know, John and I have fostered over 80 cats over the course of our marriage. We would take abandoned litters, like people we had no SPCA when we the small
Mm,
town where we first got married. There was no they would take cats and, you know, just
yeah.
off them, which is awful. So if anybody found an abandoned litter, we would take the babies, raise them, and really socialize them so they were good citizens. Like we'd raise good kitty citizens and we'd find them homes. We'd trap the mom, get her spayed, and then release. So we had our own, but we've done over 80 cats, and all 5 of mine are foster fails from that situation over there.
Mhm.
People didn't know this about me, but I appreciate the noticing of the systems piece of it.
Yeah, I mean, in a lot of ways, like, you do the same thing with us, people in your streamline program because you're helping us become the best Airbnb citizens, right?
Amy, you are one of my favorite people in the entire world. How we could take what is a very niche topic and make it broad. Thank you for that.
You're so welcome.
Yeah, so that's how Amy and I met. But Amy has such a broad background of expertise and experiences, which is why I wanted to have her on to share about her, not just go down my crazy cat lady, rabbit trail. So Amy is one of my clients, but she's become so much more than that. Truly consider her a friend and a colleague now in the space. She's just done an amazing job, just jumped both feet into the short term rental space. But what led you to short term rentals? Let's start there. Start at the beginning.
I'm taking a pause because there's just so much, and my brain works in a windy way, so forgive me for however the story comes out. Let's just say there's always been this part of me. I didn't know this. Like I wasn't fully conscious of this aspect of myself. I don't think I would admit it until maybe a year or 2 ago. Okay? So
Okay.
this is like, we do things and we don't know that we do them, and other people are like, "Oh yeah, you're totally into that." But you don't know that you're into things that you're into. Like, at
Mm-hmm.
least for me, that's how it is. But when I was a little girl, like, I would go to the Belk department store to the home section and, like, look at the comforters and, like, all the toothbrush and trash cans and, like, all that stuff, like, I
As a
I would
child?
as a child, like, I
Okay.
wanted to go to the home section. Like, I didn't wanna do like, I didn't care about the clothes section. I mean, I was inside the, like, round, like, things of clothes
Yeah.
hiding from mom who was looking for some marmy looking suit. Um, but I think like I've always had this propulsion to make places and spaces look good. And my parents actually built the house that I moved into when I was 14, custom built from the ground. Like they picked out the plan, the whole thing. And I was like, oh my God, this is the coolest experience ever. And I had the whole upstairs and they had the downstairs. So I got like free reign over what I wanted to do
How
upstairs.
cool is that?
I mean, I'm really grateful to my mom for letting me play. I mean, I had the sponge walls, like it was aqua and pink. I had this bathroom that had this metallic teal and pink and blue fan wallpaper in it and these lights that were just like whoa. I mean, it was like early 94 I think
Is
was
this
when we
what started
90.
your love of wallpaper? For
I
those of
think
you who can't see Amy right now, she has this amazing, like bright wallpaper behind her. So, is
I,
this what started it?
I think it is, and
The
it's really
wallpaper origin
weird
story.
because wallpaper was in then, like kind of going out, and then we had this whole time where like wallpaper was like dumb. I don't know why, but like we became beige and like neutral and gray, and that was like the
You're
coolest
speaking
thing
my
ever.
language. Yes.
um, but joy is actually color. Like there's actually a really awesome TED talk by this woman about joy, and she talks about how like confetti and sprinkles and like all those things are colorful, and
Okay.
anytime you think about that, it brings like this sense of childlike wonder, right? So
Okay.
um I think I realized that as I began to tap back into my joy, that's when the wallpaper like really got exciting.
We're on
Um
to something here. We're on to
yeah.
something. Continue your story,
All
please.
right. So, okay. Um so yeah, like I designed that, and then when I was in college, like I was having my grandmother make me like curtains that matched my comforter, like I brought her sheets, and like I was in my dorm room like before hiring interior designers for your dorm room was popular. I mean, they do that now.
I know.
Um
It's
like
wild.
in 2000 or 97 when I was starting, I was doing that for myself. And then
Where'd you go to school?
I went to Chapel Hill, UNC Chapel Hill.
Okay.
I'm a Tar Heel. So,
Oh.
we're not enemies because I don't care about football. I'm a
No, I
basketball person.
that's fair. I went to Virginia Tech. Most people think I went to Georgia, but I went to
Oh,
Virginia
that's
Tech.
right, that's right. So you're a basketball do you do
I'm a Georgia
basketball?
football fan. Like
Okay.
that's as far as I get into sports. So not enemies, whatsoever. But I love Chapel Hill and Durham. That whole area is a lot of fun.
It was so fun. I loved it. But then I got this my first apartment, and I painted the bathroom in a year 3 times. Like, I had, like, the orange paint with the, like, white daisies with a pink dot in the middle. Like, I don't know, like, I was just the
Expressing.
all the while, like, nose to the grindstone, I'm gonna be an investment banker on Wall Street, but I'm designing homes. You know what I mean? Like, I'm
Oh,
designing my house. And then, like, I my my first condo that I bought when I was an adult, 24 I think, was a custom condo, like where you got to pick out the cabinets and the hardwoods and the paint and the tile and all the things, like not common, right? Normally it's like
no,
made for you,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
that I was like, yes, I want that. And then like I I did this other thing with my husband, ex-husband. We bought this acre and a half in Vinings, 60s house, estate, like colonial looking thing, terrible tear down. It had been sat like uh vacant and not air conditioning, so it was like got to be torn down. But we moved into it for 5 years while
Ugh.
we built a custom built French country manor in the backyard. It was like a garage mahal, like it was a 6-car garage on the lower level and then 2 bedrooms on the upper level, and it was covered in stone. And
Your
I
French country?
my French country, I designed the whole house.
Is that what they
Um,
call a barn dominium these days?
it it was a barn, it was the garage mahal.
Garage Mahal. Okay. I think that's a new term to me, but you heard it here, folks. Here first, folks, if I can get my
I
words
mean,
out.
I feel like we need to put a link to this property in the show notes because
We will.
or something because it was insane. Like we spent cash. Like we did the whole project over 5.5 years, paid cash for it. We brought in 100 dump truck loads worth of dirt because it was on a hill. It's actually a finger that comes out of the Stone Mountain that comes into Vining. So the whole land, we're on top of the hill and there's like all this granite and we had big bulldozers in like breaking the granite so that we could put this house down with this basement in the lower part behind the house, and then the main level was going to be on the same level as the main house. 30-year-olds with not a freaking clue. We got the building permit ourselves. Like we went to the county and pulled the building permit. We were back there like putting the silt fences in the back of the yard, like at the bottom of the hill, and then the lawyer who lived at the bottom of the hill called us and said, just want to let you know after this storm, like all your dirt came into our yard. So like my husband and I were ex-husband were down down like with a pickup truck shoveling dirt from this guy's yard. Anyway, I digress with this story, but it's super interesting. We were the builders for 5.5 years of this house. This is what I did in my free time. Like I bought every nail, every stud, every white fixture installed,
Are you
mini
like
installed the
hammering
windows.
nails at
Oh
this
yeah.
point?
I mean, I'm hammering nails. I'm installing windows. I'm like building a deck 13 and a half feet up off the ground. I
I'm so
installed
impressed right now.
over 150 light fixtures. Crazy. I mean, and this house was epic. And I did the whole thing by myself. Meanwhile, I haven't explained people what I did in my day job, but this was what was coming out of the seams, right? This like I I had this desire to create,
Yeah.
but I couldn't see it. What I
And what were
was
you doing during your free time at this
so
point?
well, this
Not
is
your
what I
free
was
time,
my
not your
work
free time,
time.
your work time.
My work time, what I thought I had to do with my life. Well, my I have to back up a little bit. I grew up poor. Um,
Mm.
not like dirt poor, but like my parents coupon clock. Like my mom had a big briefcase of coupons that was like 168 categories, like traumatizing amount of coupons. And we would go and spend the weekend coupon shopping because we were like trying to like stretch the dollar as far as we could. So I think that experience of having to spend so much of my free time saving
Mm.
money pushed me to believe that what I needed to do was get a job that was high earning. And I went to Brazil when I was 15, and I learned Portuguese. And when I came back, my mom was like, "You should do business because that's what you can use Portuguese with." And I was like, "Okay, um, okay,
Thanks,
mom."
Mom. Yeah, that's a great
That sounds
idea.
great. I'll be a business person. Meanwhile, she's like, I don't really see her as a business person, but okay. And I mean, like, I anything I commit myself to, I'm going to do it and I'm going to be the best at it. So I went to UNC because they have the best business, like one of the best public school, business schools that you can go to for undergrad, top 5 in the country or something like that. And I got a double major in Spanish because I happen to love language and travel and all that. And I was president of my business fraternity, and I was working as an apprentice in the IT department at the business school. I was a very high achieving student, so I was recruited like by all the top companies, Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, like every bank on the street I interviewed with, but I actually hated all of them. Like they were just so like it just didn't feel good. And I, as a joke, I interviewed with Accenture and Anderson Consulting at the time, consulting company.
Mhm.
And when I was interviewing with them, um, they said, "Oh, you seem like you might be a good fit for our strategy practice." And I was like, "That sounds cool. I want to do strategy." What is the strategy? But okay. Um, and and they recruited me and they like rolled out the red carpet, nice Michelin star restaurants, flew me to New York. Like it was amazing. But then I got a call on my last day of class telling me they were switching me from strategy to technology. And then that started my career of learning how to code. So my first day of the job, which happened to be September 12th, 2001, day after September 11th, um, I was put in front of a computer and said code, and I had a business degree, right?
What?
Um,
Because that makes a lot of sense.
but like I was in it and I didn't know that like I had a choice to do anything else really. I wanted to go back to the strategy. I was like, okay, I'll go in like I'll make my way back. But then I got this boss who convinced me that I could just find joy in doing a good job for people and solving the problems or whatever. And I fooled
Did you?
myself. No, I didn't. I think I was trying to prove my worth, truly trying to prove my
Mm,
worth.
yeah.
Um, and I mean, like everything I was doing was trying to be the best. Like and to do it so fast. Like I was leading a team of 8 analysts in when I was 23. And I sold my first project when I was 23. I wanted to make manager faster than ever. Like I was just like on this treadmill towards like success, right? Whatever I thought success was. And and that led me to like I mean, I guess I was at Accenture for 5.5 years. I quit because I didn't wanna travel when I was married. I didn't wanna
Yeah.
do the thing, and I got a gig at a local consulting company called Slalom. They're pretty big now, um, and was staffed at AT&T and T and then AutoTrader, and then I went to AutoTrader for a couple years because that same boss convinced me that I could go be CEO there. And I remember, like, one of my last days while I was working there, I was literally crying driving to work, like, couldn't be more miserable with the job. I ended up losing the job. That's a different story for another time. And came back to Slalom and got staffed at Coke. So that was in 2010. And, that was when I started, like, really realizing that what I was doing in my life, like, working all the time on the weekends, at night, like, what really wasn't healthy, and I started seeing a therapist. I realized, that I had some pretty significant like, I was repressing what had happened to me earlier in my life, and I needed to work on that. And so I slowed down for a while there, and in the slowing down and taking better care of myself, people wanted to give me more responsibility. So, I was getting
Funny how that
healthier.
works.
Right,
Yeah.
right, right. Um, and I actually declined many, many job offers from them. It wasn't until 5.5 years after being a consultant for them that I accepted one because my experience with AutoTrader was so hard. And I got hired as a senior director in 2016. And I was an individual contributor. I had some consultants working for me, but no like direct reports. And a year later, James Quincy, the current CEO, became the CEO, and we went through a massive restructure. And
Mm.
my boss and 4 of his peers were given a package. And I was, like, still in my job or whatever, but they opened up a new position, a VP position that was over marketing and digital services globally, um, for the company. And I was like, "I don't wanna work for somebody else." Like, I'm gonna go over to the freestyle team and work for this other person that I know. The freestyle machines, like, they wanted me to head up development for that. And I ended up meeting with the person who was recruiting for the marketing digital services job, and, and she was like, "I think you should, um I think you should apply." I was like, "What?" Because this gig, like, I was an individual contributor. I had no direct reports, and this job had 70 direct
That's a
reports.
lot.
And it wasn't just that. She worked for the CFO of the company,
Mm.
who worked for the CEO. So it was like an executive position, right?
For those of you who missed it, she was interviewing for a senior VP of a global VP at Coke.
It was like a yeah, it was a global so I wasn't. Like I was like that was like we had the this yeah, it was like jobs were eliminated. I was a senior director and then this global VP position became available and they wanted me to interview for it. I interviewed for it and I got it.
Of course you did. I have
I was
no doubt that you did.
and I was so excited, like, oh my God, they picked me, like I'm worthy. And I hated it. It was miserable. And I got restructured again a year later where my boss was removed and then I was working for somebody who worked for the CEO. So I was one of the top 150 executives for the company. My responsibility had doubled in that time. Um,
Wow.
I was responsible for the IT help desk, like, hey, like, can you help me reset my password? I had 200 people on that team working for me. I mean, I had it was crazy. I was responsible for like 40, $50 million. And
I mean, at this point, you're probably traveling all over the world, living what most would perceive as a very glamorous life.
I was.
Yeah.
I think I've traveled to 55 countries in the world, business class, everywhere I went. Um, Paid very well, had all the money I could want. Um, and I was miserable. I think my turning point in this career was they have this test that you take. Are you ready to scale?
Mm.
Like, are you ready to lead at scale? And I'm like, if I'm not ready to lead at scale, like I'm kind of already doing it, guys. Like you put me in this job without any leadership training and I'm trying to figure it out. And the results came back and it was like, I needed a lot of improvement.
Fair.
So much. I mean, of course I did. Like I didn't I didn't have the training, the experience, I mean, I was doing the best I could with what they had given me, and a lot of people enjoyed working for me, and a lot of people didn't. That's kind of how it is in corporate. But I started at that point. This is when the turning point happened in this long-winded story that I'm telling. Sorry, you told me you wanted it.
I did
Um,
want it. We want it all.
um, it was I started working with a mindset coach. I knew I needed help. And I found this mindset coach at the end of a meditation course. I meditate Vipassana meditation. And on the 10th day, it's like 10 days of silence. And on the 10th day, you can talk.
We're going to need to take a little bit of a deeper dive into that because,
Okay.
okay, it's fasted, right? This meditation?
It's not fasted. It's sort of fasted.
Sort of.
It's you eat at 6:30, like a vegetarian meal, and then you eat again at
AM?
6 a.m. Yeah, you start meditating at 4:30 a.m.
AM. Okay.
Hmm. And then you eat at 6:30 and you have I usually have like a little tiny bowl of yogurt, like just something, because and then I eat again at 11. And that's like a decent sized meal, but you don't ever want to eat too much because you're meditating 10 hours a day. Um and then you don't eat again.
Can you
And
go
so
to the
that's
bathroom when you're meditating?
not when you're in so 3 times a day you sit for an hour and you don't move.
Okay.
So during that time, unless you are experiencing like I'm going to poop myself, like kind of situation, then you sit. And the whole point of like when you're sitting and doing this meditation is to observe just how addicted you are to pleasurable sensation and how averse you are to unpleasant sensation, and to train your body to not react to those things so that you can be
Is going
less.
to the restroom an unpleasant sensation?
Mhm. And it's something that your system will actually manifest to try to get you to get out of the pain that you're feeling, like, because it's so hard to sit and just look because you're addicted to stimulation, right? We're all addicted to stimulation. Like, think about the dopamine hits you get from your phone, from watching TV, from eating all the sugary foods we have now. Like, so it's a really great way to train your mind and your body to become equanimous. That's what it's called, where you don't react. And that means that you're less angry, you're less jealous, you're less bitter, you're less all the things, less craving. Yeah. So I was there, and actually I went to this course. It was my 5th time going, just after I had received these soul crushing results about whether I was ready to lead at scale. I was like, I don't belong in this company. Like, this is so bad. Um, and I met her. her being my mindset coach on this 10th day, and it was like she was an angel coming from the sky. Um,
Yeah.
and she and part of the results of my test actually said you're creative and you should be doing creative things. And I had been my whole life like coding, leading people who coded, developed, leading support people back, like behind the scenes. I was never on the stage being the person putting my work, like my beautiful creations on out there. And she helps artists and entrepreneurs, producers, writers, that those kinds of people unblock the things that are in their way to pursuing their greatest dreams. And the truth is, I didn't have any idea what my dreams were. Zero. Um and she she helped me figure out like all the things that were had made me turn them off. And then like I used her process, write yourself into your her name's Terry Wade, and I used her book, Write Yourself into Your Dreams, and coaching sessions with her every week, and still work with her to this day, to shift from believing that you have to work, you have to grind it out to experience freedom, until I realized that true freedom comes from actually doing what you love and sharing that with the world. But there's so much.
Say that again. Say that again. For those who missed it.
True freedom comes from doing what you love and sharing that with others.
Amen. So true. So, so true.
And that was, it took me 3 years of working with her to get to that place. And it was actually almost to the date, like 2 years ago, I was sitting in Maui, and I was sitting on the Big Island looking at Maui with my partner, Casey. And I said to him, I have to leave Coke. I'm not doing what I love. Like I'm tired of grinding my teeth every night. I'm tired of having nausea in my belly every day. I'm tired of sitting on meetings and like I'm getting exposure with some of the most senior people in the world and traveling and doing all this cool stuff. But it sucks. Not because Coke sucks. It wasn't that. It wasn't right for me. Like
Yes.
and that was like I don't poo-poo anybody who has a corporate job and loves what they do. That's wonderful. You have a gift. But if you're in it and you don't love it, then that's the problem.
You don't
Like
have to stay there.
You don't have to stay there. You can leave. But you do have to allow yourself to figure out what you love.
Totally.
And that's a whole different thing. Like, because we actually ask kids to declare so quickly. Like,
1000%.
did you have that experience where you had to declare right away?
Oh my gosh, it's a huge part of my story. I thought I was going pre-med. They wanted me to declare before I went to college. I declared pre-med because that's what, my view of success was, the title, the money, the whatever else. And I realized halfway in that blood and guts make me throw up. Yeah, no, thank you. That was like 1 year in. They're like, oh, to change your major, you have to stay an extra year in school. And I'm like, bump that. So I stayed pre med, but I did a bunch of business internships in there because I knew that I love systems, processes, all of that. But who the heck, like, why are we asking 17 and 18-year-olds to make a decision about what they want to do with the rest of their life? I think the statistic is 70% of people do nothing to do with their major in college, which is wild to me. Anyways, continue.
And I mean, like, the truth is I do stuff with my major. Like, it's funny, like in my business, A More Better Home, I speak Spanish every day, all day long with my staff, with my team. They're amazing. And the business stuff definitely comes in handy. But and I'm really grateful. Like I had a session with Terry, I want to say it was 2 or 3 weeks ago, where we spent probably an hour just on me talking about everything I had learned on my journey being in corporate, what it taught me, I think the reason that I was able to leave corporate, which I'll come back to explaining that story, um, and jump into having a profitable business in year one is because of all the business savvy that I had developed by being a
Totally.
leader, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so it's not like I'm upset that I went on this long journey, but I do want people to know that, you know, pursue your happy, you know?
Totally. And I completely agree with you. I don't I don't shit talk the like corporate experience. For those of you who haven't heard my story, I was COO for 10 years of a government contracting company. Security printing. I'm one of 5 people in the world who have a triple certification with like security plastics, which is super random. But no training is wasted. And I fully believe like every season in your life contributes to the next. And whether it's a lesson or, just other experiences, I'm 100% on board. But managing the people and processes of that is what allowed me to really come into short-term rentals and knock it out of the park with the technology, figuring out how to make everything run smoothly. So I agree with you. Like, no training is wasted, but figuring out what part of it I love and then delegating the rest,
Big part.
big
Important.
part. Hmm.
Important part. And I know that I don't love bookkeeping, even though that I have a big pile of receipts. And I'm gonna
Have you
find my
hired a?
bookkeeper.
Have you find a?
I haven't found one yet, but it's
Sorry.
okay. I'm kick. It's a next year problem, and I'm gonna make the time to figure it out. It's all good. I have a degree. I mean, I have a accounting background. I can do it. I just hate it. Anyway, anybody who thinks that I've got it all figured out or Madeline has it all figured out, we don't.
We don't. Oh, Amy's my mindset coach, by the way. If you didn't know that, so she's speaking from her firsthand knowledge.
I would never disclose anything
I know,
personal
but I
about
just did.
anybody.
I know. I know. But she's
Um,
100% correct. And I'm glad that she said neither one of us, and nobody has it all figured out. It's just they have figured out how to take action even when they don't have it figured out.
exactly. Like to
And the
learn,
courage. Go ahead.
you're kind of learning you're learning as you go. Like, okay, I have this problem. I'm a smart person. I know, and I'm a well-connected person. I know I can pick up the phone and ask somebody for help. Like that's one of the biggest things that I think I had to learn on my journey with Terry was being able to ask for support. Like
Yeah.
a lot of people in today's culture are lonely and perfectionists because
Mm,
they think that's what's going to get them help them prove their worth and help them feel loved. But it's a very isolating quality when you're afraid that you're going to look stupid or weak, or you don't want to be a burden and you don't reach out for support. The reason that I'm successful and that Madeline is successful is because we know we need people to help us along the way. It's so much more fun when you're working with other people
totally.
and leaning on one another. Um, so yeah, that was a little bit of a digression, but okay, I was in Maui, right? Or I was
You're in
in Big
Maui. You were
Island. I was
talking
in
to
Big Island.
Casey.
I was talking to
Yes.
Casey and I said, I have to leave. And he was like, well, what are we going to do? I mean, because like I was making, I don't know, a
Just say
lot
it.
of money.
Yeah.
I think like that year I made like 3/4 of a million.
There
So
we go.
it was
Plenty of money.
it was a lot of money. And I was like, I don't know, you're a doctor, like you make a lot of money too. So
We're
if
fine.
we're going to be okay. And I have savings. And I said, I don't know when or how exactly, but I know I'm done. And and the reason that I knew I was done was because I tried really hard to make it work at Coke. I had brought in my coach, Terry, to have this program where we were running like mindset work in the company. And I thought that I was going to be able to scale that and help people overcome their limiting beliefs so that we could have a more like mm, a more relaxed way of working that felt good to everyone, and people felt free to communicate and like just get over
Yeah.
the things that were holding them back from their success. And I wanted to be the chief wellness officer of the company. Like for a while, I thought that was what I wanted to do. And Terry calls that my bridge dream that helped me realize I wanted to get out. Um, because I pursued it to the highest level. Like I presented to the chief of HR and she said, we're just not ready for this yet. And I was like, okay. So that was why, like, I ultimately was like, okay, I cannot make this high earning job work for me. I need to go. So in March of 2023, I told my boss this will be my last year at the company. And December 2023, so a year ago, probably about exactly this time, I worked my last day at the company and stepped off into the abyss of I have no idea what I'm going to do next. Um, yeah, it was terrifying.
But what courage. Like, what courage it took to do that.
Yeah. It felt really good. I mean, like, I felt I had this countdown. Like, I think because I gave myself that amount of time. Oh, let me grab this real quick. Um, in case we decide to share it in a video.
Oh, we'll have a video. You had a retirement countdown.
I had a retirement countdown, and this retirement countdown clock, I started one of my team members. I loved my team. The last 3 years that I worked at Coke, I was responsible for public affairs and communication services, and I had this amazing team that we worked with Terry as a group, and it was just really tight. But one of my team members bought me this time, this countdown, so I kept looking at it, and I think that got me ready. Like it was like I think if I had decided to leave in March and given my resignation at that point, there was so many lessons I needed to learn at Coke still before leaving that served me so well in this last year that I've been, living uh, as a free person, which was like just how scared I was of saying no to people, just
Mhm.
how scared I was of standing up for people. Because when you know you're leaving, if there's something inside of you that's preventing you from standing up for yourself, like what is that? So I was able to work
Yeah.
through a lot of my mindset things that
What
I
did you
would.
find?
Well, what did I find? Like, I found that I needed to learn how to stand up for that I was super concerned about what people would think about me if I said no. I
Yeah.
also learned that I had a propensity to take more responsibility than was mine. And I needed to just say, no, we're not going to take that. I learned who it was safe to share my feelings with and my true authentic self with, and who it wasn't okay to share myself with and my true authentic self with. Because I was doing it all over the place, like when you decided you're leaving, like why leave anything on the table? And you could really see people true colors, right? Like,
Yeah.
and yeah, those were some of the things.
Do you know what it reminds me of? Do you ever listen to country music?
No, I'm
No, that's
sorry.
fine. But you've probably heard the song "Live Like You Were Dying," Tim McGraw.
Will you sing it for me?
Um, no, I will not. No, I will not. But it's talking about like his dad had a few months to live and they went skydiving, Rocky Mountain climbing, and he learned to live his life like it was his last few months. But in this corporate space of you knew you were leaving, so you may as well just say it.
Yeah.
Just get it out
So
on the table.
but it was interesting to see, like, I needed to remove those blocks that were preventing me from even being able to do that. Like, because now, like, there's so many, like, as an entrepreneur, like, there's no safety net. Like,
Oh,
you
heck
got
no.
you gotta take care of yourself. You gotta be able to stand up for yourself. You gotta be able to, like, know what's your responsibility and what someone else's responsibility is. So all those lessons were really valuable. And at some point, I'm going to mine. I have all the recordings of my sessions that I've done with Terry for the last 3 years. I'm going to mine them, turn them into a podcast. So for people who want to listen to that, at
Can't
some
wait to
point.
share that. Yeah.
It'll be out there for you to hear all the things that I was going through. It's hard to remember them all after you've shifted them, which is really cool because it's a really great thing to know that like when you shift your mindset, you can let it go. So yeah, I I gave my resignation January 2024, and here I am.
Here you
Like,
are.
well, I guess there's been a whole year. And the thing that I said for the year was I wasn't going to say, everybody asked me when I left, what are you going to do? 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 I don't know. I know that I really like this house stuff and I have this cabin that I have to finish renovating because it's like sitting on my books as a liability. I had it renovated and then I was like, oh, I'm going to go with Evolve because I don't want to pay big property management fees. And then,
Straight to the
um,
heart. Nice straight to the heart.
I
For those
know,
of you who
right?
don't know, I do not like the big buck, Evolve Casa. This is
Yeah.
going to be public. Crap. Here I am just like spilling my heart about these guys. Anyways, continue. I digress.
No, it's okay. Like the thing is I had built another property 2 years 4 years prior that I was renting through another property management. So I didn't feel like I could do it on my own. But that's when I discovered Madeline. And I think I want to say it was like June. I started working with her and she was like, "Oh, you can totally do this on your own." And my house was done. It was ready to rent. Like
It was beautiful. I was like, please, for the love of God, do not give somebody 10 or 15% just to like answer some guest messages. Like, you have all the tools to be successful. Please just see this in yourself. Yeah.
I mean, she literally like gave me like the slightest nudge. I was like, okay, I'll do it. And I
Yeah.
launched the property from Hawaii. Like she was like, oh, you can work with your remote team. They'll finish the things up. You can do it. You could do it. You could do it. And I did it. And
You did it.
it's had in this year, it's had 2 days of vacancy.
Whoa. Whoa, the balloons. For those of you who can't see the screen, Apple just gave us the balloon shot that came up. So that was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are incredible results. I think it's time to raise
Yeah.
prices, but we'll leave that there.
Yeah, we can. I mean, I am and I have.
Yeah.
And I just think it's wild that I'm making that money in December. Like
Oh, I do too. I think it's great. I think
yeah.
but it's not surprising to me because of what we were talking about, your love of creating beautiful spaces, but also spaces that people feel amazing in. So let's talk a little bit about that, about
Yeah.
your journey to just create spaces. What is your process when you're creating these spaces?
It's kind of like an artist with a blank canvas. Um I didn't realize that until I met this artist when I was in Hawaii, named Christy and Fujiyama. She's a really amazing fine artist. If you haven't seen her work, I have some in my property in Atlanta that you can stay with. But she gave me a blank canvas to a let me not let me not undersell this. She gave me 2 3 by 4 foot canvases to do a diptych, and I'd never oil painted before in September of this year. And she's like, I think you should do the diptych for this like area of your house. And I was like, what? And she's like, yeah, just allow it to come out of your brush. And I was like, what the is she
Yeah,
talking about?
exactly.
Allow it to come out of your brush.
What
And
kind of artist voodoo is this?
and the truth is I have that artist voodoo in me. Like I do. I
Yeah.
am an artist and I claim that I'm an artist in July with Terry. I cried a lot. I'm an artist. So I did it. Like it came out onto the canvas. So it's
Came out of
this
your brush.
it came out of my brush and it's beautiful and I'm proud of it.
You
And
should be.
um and that's what happens with a house. Like I look at it, I see the blank walls, and I start with like what does this house want to be? And I start to get like images in my head. Like as a designer, I'm not like going and looking at something and say, I want to remake this thing in this house. It's more like I see what it is, and then I'm like on a hunt to find the things that match what I see.
Yes.
So,
Okay.
um, it's like I do so I have like an overall like feeling for what the thing needs to be, and then room by room, they come to life, and and I'm a very sensitive person. Like my body is sensitive, and like I like since yes, I'm very emotional. Like I cry easily, but it's not that. Like I'm sensitive in that like bright light bothers me, loud music bothers me, rough things bother me. So like I'm really in tune with what feels good or not. Like it's like a natural thing, and like I can look at colors, I can look at the combination of things, I can just see it. Like that's gross and that's not going to feel good and it's got to go. Like
How is
you've
that a
seen me say that, right?
No, I've absolutely seen you say that, and I feel the same way. I don't have your gift of, like, pulling spaces together, but I can walk into a space and change what does not feel good. So, Amy has this beautiful skill of being able to just pull all of these different parts together and make it whole. And people have this misconception that I do that as for my properties, and I don't. But I can choose all of the pieces, and then I have somebody come in and like stage and do the things. But as far as like the bedding, all of the other like feel good pieces, I do that part. And I come in and stay at a space and just the cozy aspect of like, what does my heart feel in this space?
Hmm.
Which is what I'm hearing you say too, which is a commonality I think we both share, and why both of our properties have been successful. Just the reviews that, and they want to come back time and time and time again. Of just like, I love how I feel in the space.
That's what they like. This like this place is stunning. I never want to leave. I never want to leave. Like and like everything from the toiletries that we select, like the smell, the like it's
What do you
all.
use?
I use essential oils, the EO stuff. I use
Okay.
grapefruit and mint and lavender. Um, I really like their products, natural, all the things. I know you use Public Goods. I haven't tried it.
I like public goods. I like what they stand for. I like how easy it is to order. Um, but I'm curious the EO, the smells. There's one public good thing that I'm like, they use citronella, which just feels a little like it's essential oil, but it's just not the hair vibe that I necessarily want all the time. So I might swap and
I
give
did.
EO a try.
I did just get the EO. The somebody I sent an affiliate link to a guest.
Good for
Um,
you. Make
I
it
was like,
shoppable.
yes, yes. She was like, I loved your shampoo. I've had two people ask me about my shampoo. So it's not like people are like ringing the phone off the hook or anything about it, but I like it. My family likes it. And it's not super expensive. And, but it's also organic and
All the good
it's
things.
smells so yummy.
Well, I have this
Um,
lavender foaming hand soap that people literally message me all the time about. Same organic,
yeah.
just really
Yeah.
good stuff, and it's one of those they always ask about. So I'm like, if I were to do a lavender in the shampoo, I wonder how that would work. I'll give it a shot.
Yeah.
We'll drop the link, affiliate link down below, folks. Shameless plug.
Yeah, give it a go. So yeah, I guess, and I like bold in my design. But I'm flexible. Like people are like, "Oh, you totally have a style." And I'm like, "No, you asked for this style and that's what I'm doing for you." Like or this is what's on right now. But if you look at whenever I share the link or whatever to the French country home, like it doesn't look like this stuff looks, like that condo
Mhm.
that I built back in 2000 whatever. My bedroom at home sure as heck doesn't look like this stuff. The wallpaper's still in there, so I think I could probably get my mom to take a picture of it. It's so crazy. But yeah, I like I'm not afraid of color. And I think people respond really well to color. And
Well,
Yeah.
how does this statement sit with you? Because it sits really well with me. People who wear black live colorful lives.
I don't know. I don't wear black.
And I like live in black.
Do you live a colorful life?
Very. At
Is
least
your
I think so.
I think you do too.
Thank
I
you.
I I think that anybody can choose to live. I mean, look at me. I'm wearing like a super bright color. Like
Bright
this is
red.
weird enough. I mean, I don't look good in black. It,
Have you done a color analysis?
I'm a fall color girl.
You're an autumn, okay. I'm a winter. A jewel winter to be
Yes.
exact.
I'm so
Yes.
envious of people who are winters. They look so good in black and white and pink and lavender and like, oh,
The
but
ice colors.
I look good in orange. So, that's a rare thing for people to
That's
look
a
good in orange.
very rare thing. Good for you. I would
Mhm.
never have a orange. Oh, I shouldn't throw my sister under the bus. I'll hold off on that. The biggest fight of our entire life. She is a fine artist and a painter, and for her wedding, she had a color palette. I, of
Mm.
course, was the matron of honor at this point, and the the pro for that was I got to choose the color first. And so I chose this beautiful, like deep burgundy, like jewel tone. And I kept sending her dresses and she kept saying, no, no, you're standing right next to me. You can't wear that. You're going to do whatever. So apparently I took too long. And she said, oh, well, somebody else has, I've got too many of that color that you chose. So you're going to need to be in burnt orange. And I said, the hell I am. And we did not talk for almost 2 months over this. Now it seems so stupid. I was in the deep burgundy. My parents were like pulling their hair out of like, girls, ladies, you have to figure this out. I'm like, she's going back on her word. She said I got to choose. Like, it was like, it's my wedding, like, you wear what I tell you to wear. And I'm like, so it all
That's
worked
so
out in the
funny.
end. She's still my best friend, but she tried to put me in burnt orange. So I have very strong feelings towards
Burnt
people
orange.
burnt orange. It's like,
And
that's what prisoners wear. That's what the University of Tennessee wears. Like, I'm not wearing orange.
and that's my favorite color.
Really?
Mhm.
Just, well, I can see it. It looks fabulous on you. So,
Yeah, it's actually the color of creativity. So
well, there we go.
if you do anything with chakras, there's like 7 chakras in our body, like you do yoga or whatever.
Mhm.
There's the second chakra is over our like womb area, the sex organs. Um, and that's
Tell me
where
about my womb, please.
that's where the center of your creativity is. And each chakra has a color related to it,
Okay.
and orange is the one over that. And I think that because I had been suppressing my creativity for so long. I mean, come on. I was coding, Madeline,
Yeah,
coding.
there's no creativity in that.
I mean, there's a little bit of
Plus
creativity if you
zero,
put
that's all
put
I
f
know.
fun
Coding.
error messages up. But, like, but truly, yeah, and, like, back office stuff is no bueno for me. So I think the orange was, like, signaling, like, the universe's way of, like, helping me, like, realize I needed to spend more time with my creativity. Yeah, and, like, these little like, because it's always sending us these subtle messages if we just pay attention.
Yeah,
So that was one of them.
I love
Yeah,
that. Well, thank you so much for being
yeah.
on here with us. I'm going to wrap it up with a question that we ask everybody on here. And what is a time in your life where change brought an unexpected opportunity?
Well, okay. So I think this one's really fun because it involves both of us. Um, I hadn't I was in Hawaii all summer, and, because my dream is to retire in Hawaii, and I try to spend as much time there as possible, I spent 3 months there, and Madeline posted a retreat to Costa Rica, like, literally a month, not even a month after I got back from Hawaii, and I was like, I talked to Casey and I was like, I mean, I really don't need this vacation or this retreat that, because she was spinning it like, oh, go get her your vacation. Like, I was like, I have been on vacation for 3 months. But like, it was like, I really feel like I want to go meet these cool people. So I did it. And it was a change in plans. Right? I was gonna go back
Totally.
and do all this other stuff, for my house, but I decided that I was gonna go to Costa Rica for a week, and, um, boy, did it lead to unexpected outcomes. Like, I think Madeline and I, like, had this instant connection because we hadn't really spent that much time together.
No, just on coaching calls, which is like straight business. We have
Right.
limited time. Like,
Yeah.
what's going on in your business?
Yeah,
Well,
I'm
I'll
like,
never forget you asking me in the stinking airport customs line, like, "Do you know your human design?" Like,
right?
"Well, no, I don't, Amy, but, like, let's get into it." Right? Like, they're asking for my passport. 1 second, please.
Yeah, I mean, like, so we developed a kind of really close connection right away, and started talking about the work that I do with mindset coaching,
Yeah.
and like, just like what is really under, like, people want to feel free, but they don't know what's really in the way
Yeah.
of their freedom. And then, like, I think I, like, talked your ear off for probably, like, 2 hours about it, and you're
It
like
was fantastic.
you're like, "Could you do, like, one of these sessions here?" And, like, I think I was doing a session, like, 5 hours later.
Oh, yeah. It was like, "Change of plans. We gotta get these people free. What's
And
holding them back?"
what's holding them back? And then we have 23 people in a circle, like, doing this deep work to identify, like, what's in the way of them having the life that they really want, and everybody was resonating with what each person
Mhm.
shared, and then the rain starts coming down, and we're having
We're
this
all
for
crying.
everybody's the guys are, like, leaning into this woman who's having this really beautiful experience healing with her mom and how that's holding her back, and I mean, it just changed. I had no idea that that was what was gonna happen, and I've got some clients from that work, and Madeline and I are gonna be hosting the next retreat together to do more of this work, and I developed some really awesome friendships with people.
Yeah.
So, I guess it changed my life a lot, and then Madeline invited me to collaborate with her on a design project. It just changed everything. Just
'Cause you said
I
yes,
said yes.
and you embraced the change of plans, and, like, the domino effect of the opportunities. I mean, I just think there are so many lessons there of,
Yeah.
like, being willing to have the courage to say yes.
Yes.
So, kudos to you.
Thank you.
I can't
Thank you
wait
for
for
having me
Costa
on.
Rica.
Yes, same. I'm looking
So,
forward to seeing what happens with all these beautiful people who choose to come.
I cannot wait.
Yeah.
Well, where can people find you?
I am on Instagram
Okay,
at A More Better Home and A More Better You. But
love
find
it.
me at A More Better Home first, and then you can find the other one in my
The other one.
profile. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, Amy, thank you so much for being on. And you guys make sure that you follow along for so much inspirational content over on A More Better Home and A More Better You.